Hello, student 7.4b. So we've got 1 through 10, 12 through 18, 20 to 30, and 32 to 35. I've skipped 11, 19, and 31. Why don't I just jot those down so I don't have to keep flipping back and forth. Let's see here. 11, 19, 31 are skipped. Now, let's take a look at these questions and see how they go. Again, these are with percentages. So, what percent of the whole is shaded? These questions look very similar to what you saw in chapter 6. They would ask you what fraction is shaded. So now you're taking that fraction, turning it into a percentage. What percent of the circles are black? Whenever it says what percent, give me the exact percent. So for this one, if you take a look and you say, oh, well, I can see it's 4 pieces out of 12, right? Okay, so let's just say that we had 4 pieces out of 12. Okay, I'm going to do a slightly different one. I'm going to mark these up. So for me, I'm going to pretend that I had 8 pieces out of 12. Okay, 8 pieces out of 12 in terms of a percentage. If I grab my calculator says 8 divided by 12 turns out to be 0.666666666 forever. And so if I was writing what percentage that would be, I could move the decimal 2 places and I could say 66.6%, or I could write it as 66 2/3%. But I'm asking you not to round. If it says what percent, give me the exact percent. Okay. Express each of the numbers as a percent. So you're given numbers, write them as a percent. You could write them directly by just moving decimals. Sometimes that's quicker. If you want to think of it as a percent, you can say, hey, this number is equal to some percent. What is that percent? And you could set them up as a proportion. Same here, converting percents to decimals. You have percents now. Just remember every percentage, like 4.5%, is out of 100. So if you were to rethink this one and think 4.5 out of 100, you could then divide by 100, moving the decimal place 2 places. And that's what dividing 2 decimal places is, the 2 zeros that we see down there. And there would be your final answer. So these are pretty good. These are 5%. Remember, this is a ratio. So 5% means 5 per 100. But if you know it's a certain amount per 100, what does that mean if I don't have 100? What if I only had 50? What does that represent? You could set this up as a 5 out of 100 equals blank out of 50, or like for the next question, 1 out of what? And you could set it up as proportions, but you could also see them as ratios. So I'm going to let you try to find the way that works best for you. Either one of those will work just fine. Draw a percent bar to represent 150% of 60. Set up a proportion from the percent bar and solve it. Okay, so again, practicing with that percent bar. Answer the questions. This is 30% of what number? So yeah. So again, you can set these up as percentages with proportions. You can set them up algebraically, or you could use percent bars. It really doesn't matter to me. Let's see here. 8, here's a number line. Fill in the blanks. So each tick mark is labeled with a percent, a fraction, and a decimal. So again, there's 3 things. You'll see the top is percents. The next line is fractions. The next line below is decimals. So kind of finish it. So every tick mark has all 3. Let's see here. Without multiplying out, which number represents a greater percentage? This looks like a test question. 0.625 or 0.625 squared. Which one is a greater percentage? Remember that when we multiply things that are between 0 and 1, shrinks them down. You're taking a fraction of it. Anything multiplied bigger than 1, scales it up. What is the sale price of a softball? Regular price is this, and there's a 25% discount. So many ways to do this problem. I hope you start finding the efficient way to do it, but I'm not going to stop you. You can do it any way you want. You want to do the long way? Knock yourself out. But hopefully, if you're sitting here and saying, hey, wait a minute, $6.80, 25% discount. Oh, so I am paying 75%. And that's how I can find the new price. It's not asking me what the amount of the discount is. It's asking me what is the new sale price. Let's see, I skipped 11. Right. Let's see here. 12. Jim bought 2 shirts that were marked at $40 each. One shirt was discounted 20, the other was 25. Sales tax was 4.5%. How much did he spend in all? Well, there we go. Go to it, one at a time. And I will say, most of the time when a store does these, they will add all the prices together and then do sales tax at the end. That way they're only rounding the sales tax once. Okay. Let's see here. Here's a nice one with ratios. 1/4 cup serving of Crunchies breakfast food has 0.5% of your requirements. How much would you have to eat to get the minimum daily requirement of vitamin C? I think I did that one time with my wife. I was like, look, there's enough vitamin C in this cereal that if I eat 20 bowls, I'm going to have a daily amount of my fully daily amount of vitamin C. Um, she did not find it humorous because that cereal was loaded down with sugar and many other things. So let's see here. Salesperson earns a salary of $900 plus a commission rate of 4% on all sales. What did the person make for a week that had sales of $1,800? Well, you get 4% on all sales, so 4% of this, and they earn $900 on top of it. 80 coins in a piggy bank, 20% are quarters. Okay. What is the least possible amount of money that could be in the piggy bank? So the smallest amount of money, right? So if you got 20% of them are quarters, that tells you how many quarters you have. And then, I don't know, I guess the rest for us in this country would just be pennies. That's the smallest amount you'd have. A new bicycle is 380. The sales tax is 9%. What is your new bill? Hey, this is a great chance to do it all in one shot. You have $380 is the price. Sales tax is 9%. Just think, sales tax is an increase on what I'm doing. So I'd have 100% plus the 9%, and I would multiply one time. And that would be my new bill. That's it. Let's see, what else do we have here? 10 by 10 with blocks. What percent of the cubes will have 4 faces painted, 3 and 2 faces painted? Again, so if you look at this, if you had this shape, kind of like the flat that we saw in class from the base 10 model, then if you paint everything in all 3 dimensions kind of thing, some of them are already glued together, so you won't be painting them. So like all these little cubes here in the middle, you're only going to be painting the top and the bottom. For edge pieces, you're going to be painting the top and the bottom and then one additional side. And then, of course, for corner pieces, you're going to have the top, the bottom, and 2 sides painted when you do it. So think about that as you're solving that problem. Let's see here. Cartons are labeled 2% milk or 98% fat free. The data for 1 whole cup of milk shows 1 cup of whole milk has this. 1 cup of 2% has this much. What is the percent of reduction in fat? Oh, okay. So it went from 8 grams down to 5 grams. What is that percent reduction? You could do it the quick way or you can do it the longer way. Doesn't matter to me. Your choice. 19, we skipped. Let's see here, number 20, 28 students. There are 7 who participate in band. What percent of students participate in band? All right. 12 boys and 8 girls. 25% of the girls wearing red. 50% of the boys are wearing red. What percent of the students are wearing red? Well, again, 25% of the girls are wearing red, 50% of the boys are wearing red. We know overall the percentage is going to be somewhere between these numbers. It cannot be more than that. So keep that in mind, because what percent of the students in detention are wearing red? You're looking at the total. Right? Let's see here. There's one with a fraction bar, so I'll just let you go to town on that. One baseball team played 30 games. The team won 20% of those games. How many did it win? Okay, so 20% of the 30 gives you what? So again, these are the basic percent questions, and you can draw each one out in either algebraic form. I'll reiterate that here. So they won. How many games did it win? So how many games is equal to 20% of 30? This would be the algebraic approach. And then you solve for G. The other approach would be they won 20%. 20 is out of 100 because it's a percentage. They played 30 games. The question is, how many did they win? And then again, to solve this one, you can multiply both sides by 30 and get there. Does not matter. You could even use a percent bar if you wanted to. All right, let's see here. Clock for $30. The following year, it increased by 20%. How many dollars did it go up? What is the clock worth now? If you were using my technique, you would find the answer to B first because that's the value down the road. But you can also do multiplication first to find how many dollars it increased. Wow, look at this. They got that finally. After all that work they did in the book, they finally put it here in part C. How would you calculate the answer in just one step? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Hopefully you are picking up on what I'm laying down. 10% raise last year. Salary is now $60,000. What was her salary last year? I mean, this is it. You know it's a 10% raise, which is 110% of what she had before. So if you wanted to put it into the formula, you'd have 110%, right? And what she has now is 60,000. The salary beforehand would be here. Or her old salary is this. She multiplied by 10% increase and got 60,000. You can divide to get X by itself. Again, same concept. Same concept for both of them. Doesn't matter. One's algebraic. The bottom one's more of an algebra equation. The top one's more of a proportion equation. So your choice. Okay. Let's see here. Car cost this. A year later it went this. What's the percentage of depreciation? Do that in one step. Start getting into a habit of just doing that division. You make 400 a week. You get a 25% raise. 2 months later, you get a 25% pay cut. What is your new salary? Ooh. Well, you could do this all at once instead of all the mini steps. But again, if you receive a 25% raise, no matter what you started with, you are now at 1.25 times that because that's 25% raise. You get a 25% pay cut. Now we're taking it away from 100%. So now you're at 0.75. And you could even multiply these. The 400 is almost irrelevant. You could find what percentage of change did you have by just multiplying those two numbers. If it's bigger than 1, it's an increase. If it's less than 1, it was a decrease. I think I said 31. I skipped. A suit that sells for $200 reduced by 25%. What percent must it be increased to bring it back to $200? What a great question. What a great question. You start with $200 and you reduce by 25%. That means you're paying 75%. What do you need to multiply that by to get back to the $200? And I got to tell you, that multiplicative identity element of the number 1 is your biggest friend right here. That's really what you're doing. A big hint, reciprocals. That's going to be your friend. Let's see, you're 35. You've got to fill out a fraction table like this, so that's good. Solve these with mental math. 15% of 42. So again, if you are looking at ways to do this quicker, then try to find something that works really well for you. If you find those common fractions like 25%, think of it as 1/4. Now it's 1/4 of 84. That sometimes is a little bit quicker. 15%, maybe think of it as 10% plus 5%, because you can find 10% of a number like 42. You can find that really quickly. And then 5% is half of this. Well, you can find half of that really quickly. And so you've turned it into something that can be much quicker to do. And yes, that's what I might do if I'm doing 15% of a number. I'll do 10%, I'll do half of it, and that's how I get there. If I had to do 20%, I'd do 10% and then maybe double it. Okay. All right, let's see what we got. Collected this on a loan. If you charge simple interest, what was the rate? So this goes back to the equations that we saw. And lastly, you fill out a table. So that is about it. And I think that'll do for the homework for 7.4. Hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have questions on any of them. We can work through a few more, or if you want to do a few extras from even part A and say, hey, can you do one of these? Let me know. All right, off you go.